Hey everyone, so we're going to cover 2.3 standard and remote today, so take really good notes, okay? This standard is understanding where and how people live. It is essential to understanding global cultural, political, and economic patterns. There are two big elements to this standard, and that is going to be elements of population composition, and then how we can read a population pyramid. So go ahead and pause your notes here. I'll blow this up a little bit. I'm sorry, pause so you can do your notes here. There is one typo right here, cohort, and all of these words here on the right side of the notes are going to be vocabulary words that are already in your dictionary. Okay, so I'll give you a minute, just pause there. Okay, and we'll start digging in. All right, the big first concept is elements, and there's two elements. It's going to be ethnicity, and then the second element is going to be age and sex. This is basically, when we look at population pyramids, these are the two main elements that geographers would look at to study population patterns. Okay, the first one, ethnicity. These, just know that you can have different patterns in specific parts of a country. Some examples that I listed there are African American distribution can be clustered in areas like enclaves in certain neighborhoods. And we see these patterns all the time, even on a local level. Another example is when you have big cities, you often see places like Little Italy and Chinatown. All right, the second component is going to include age and sex or gender. And so we are obviously looking at starting right from birth all the way to when people die and decease. And so we are also looking at females versus males. This is, again, going to vary across the region. If you take it down to different scale of analysis, you're going to see different patterns as well. Some great examples here, which actually pretty interesting, is how our older and younger populations can differ. In the state of Utah, the average population is actually 29 years old versus Maine is 43, so a lot older population in Maine. So it's interesting to think about what drives younger populations in a place like Utah versus Maine. Another example we can do with gender is how males and females might be off balance. A thing we'll talk about, and a component we'll talk about in a minute, is going to be wars, some of the world wars and what they did to population pyramids. We can also mention quickly that China's one-child policy, like with government mandates, that is going to skew a population pyramid, and whenever you have a pandemic or even a natural disaster. Okay. Here's just a map that shows you some of those ethnic enclaves. This one is showing African American population. Again, we have it at a national level. We can see the South has more dense of that ethnic group. But then when we take it to a scale of analysis in Chicago, and particularly, we see that scale of analysis shows us a little different skewed data there. It's varied. Okay. And again, those is just an example of composition where we have ethnic groups. All right, I don't know that you need to write all of this down, but we're going to go into how we analyze a population pyramid. And so it's a pyramid, and you have males on one side, females on the other. Okay, in the middle, you're going to have these age groups starting from 0 and goes all the way up to, say, life expectancy of that particular area. So you can see in the darker blue, these are going to be young dependents. So before you're old enough to kind of take care of yourself. And at the top, we have old dependents, where you're retired or you're too old to take care of yourself. And in the middle, we have that economically active population, where people are part of the workforce in that area. Usually these population pyramids are going to be based on a country. It's really fun to look at different countries. We'll do a little bit of that next week. And then usually you are going to have these cohort groups, which is by age. So each of these vertical lines is going to be a different age bracket or group, and that is a cohort. Okay. So we're going to talk about 3 different shapes, okay? And so to keep it simple, just some really basic terminologies, we'll refer to them as a tree, a box, or a cup, Okay, and that's how you have it listed in your notes. The first one is going to be a tree. This is also called an expansive pyramid. Okay, you have a really wide base, lots of babies being born in this country. Okay, and so we have no sudden indentions or bulges. It's just a really nice looking triangle there. Okay, so we do notice that we have a lot of young population, but what's happening at the top, it's very skinny, and we don't have people living, a lot of people in this area living to be very old. Okay, there's a nice balance of females and males on this. The cohort groups, remember those vertical lines are very gradual. It doesn't look like anything has impacted this pyramid with like a war or a natural disaster or even a pandemic. Okay, so the next one is going to be the box shape. This is also called constrictive pyramid. This is where you have almost an inverted shape, and you see that the graph is tapering a little bit more at the bottom. So what happened to that wide base? Okay, so this tells me right away, oh, people in this country are not having lots of babies. Okay, not as many children being born. We see at the top a little bit more of a bulge, which means the life expectancy in this area is a little bit longer and more people are living to be older. Okay, so more elderly living longer. We also see a smaller percentage of those young people, so less babies, and we have indicated that there's probably going to be a higher level of development in this country. Okay, what that means is there's probably, I'm going to assume there's access to quality education and healthcare there, especially since the life expectancy seems to be a little higher and more people are living to be older. Okay, and then the last population pyramid shape is going to be what I call a cup. So you actually see what happens here is populations are not growing at all. You have birth rates that are really low and quality of life is high. These are going to be very, very developed countries. Okay, so this is also called stationary. So we almost see that in some of these inverted shapes where you have a population that could be at 0%. So I'm sorry, the growth rate can be at 0% because there's actually more people dying than babies are being born. Okay, so this indicate a very high quality of life. Not many people are having babies in a population pyramid like this. Okay, historic trends. This is quite fascinating. What happens when you have a major war like one of the world wars? How does that impact a population pyramid? So this is a population pyramid of Germany, and you can see what happened during World War II and World War I in this population pyramid. You can see the impacts on this population pyramid even today. So men ages 14 and 40 were sent to war, right? And this lots of them that died. So this took a huge chunk out of the male population, and so the women's side became pretty top heavy. Okay, when men and women are separated in a situation like war, there's not a lot of babies happening, right? Because families are put on hold. They're not wanting to, do family planning if husbands are away. Okay, so there's going to be a big delay in having families. So you see what's called a birth deficit. And that's just basically, this is one of your dictionary words, this is slow in birth. So you're going to have shorter bars at the bottom of babies being born in that population pyramid. You can see that there. And you can also see these indentions here where there are signs of birth deficits. The exact opposite of that, which is what happened, especially in America. You've heard the okay boomer, right? This is a generation of baby boomers. So when all the men came home from the world wars, we had a baby boom. And we see lots of spikes happening in our birth rate there, okay? And so you see those are bulges on each side where we had those baby booms, okay? And then a baby bust is just when you have the end of a baby boom era, okay? So boom, bust. And then an echo is another dictionary word. It's just a generation of an earlier boom, okay? That's just if you came from the baby boomer generation, then that as that generation gets older, it's just referred to as an echo. Okay, cool. Historical trends there. This is the 2016 US population pyramid here. You can see, I thought you guys might be interested in it. It shows the generations of where the baby boomers are today up here, and then the Gen X, the Gen Y, and the Gen Z, where they are on the population. So you can see Gen Z in 2016, they were anywhere from 15 years old to 30 years old. And you can see how they fit into the population pyramid there. All right, other anomalies, and migration also has an impact on population pyramids. This is one of the most far-fetched population pyramids ever, and we'll talk about it in class as well. But this is in Qatar in the Middle East, and you can see that this is being impacted by economics because lots of surrounding countries are migrating into Qatar for the gas and petroleum jobs that are there. So what's happening here? You see a huge, heavy side of males because generally males are going into Qatar and finding work, okay? And then this is another example of an economic. This is actually here in Ouray, Colorado, which is a very trendy, expensive place to go, and it's full of recreational activities. And you see a lot of older populations going into Ouray just during certain months of the year for recreation activities and jobs. So like if you work at a ski resort, then you are only going in to, work a ski resort during the ski season, during the winter and part of the spring. Okay. And so they'll have seasonal housing. And then what you see happen is when those seasons are over, then those people leave Ouray. All right. The next is going to be a social impact on a population pyramid. This here is a college campus. And so you can see in that vertical cohort group, around 20 to 24 years, you have a huge bulge there. And that's where young people, college students, are going in to this town in Pennsylvania to go to college. And then probably during the summer, that bulge decreases. Okay, so just another example of impacts on population pyramids. The last one I couldn't really find a good population pyramid for, but I did get this map of what Hurricane Katrina did to impact the United States. And this is an environmental impact of where you would have people leaving a certain area, obviously here in New Orleans because of Hurricane Katrina, and what a natural disaster could do to a population pyramid. Just another example. This one's going to be a political. This shows you what China's one-child policy did to China's population pyramid. And you can see here, right when the policy started in the 1960s, you have actually a Christmas tree. See that? And then 2015 is a long-term effect of what the one-child policy did for up to 40 years. And then you have kind of a projected here at the side, the last pyramid is what they predict China's population and pyramid to look like in 2050. And it's going to look more like a cup, right? Because people aren't having them babies. All right, the last thing really quick is how we figure a dependency ratio. So remember, when people are young at the bottom of the pyramid and then they're at the top and they're older, those are age groups that are dependent on the middle-aged folks, and they're not in society working. So there's actually a formula for that to get it, and you put the number of dependents or non-working age group at the top and divide it by people between the age of 15 to 64. And that would be your working group of people in a country or region. So this goes a little more into detail, and there's a snippet of your AMSCO book there of calculating the United States dependency ratio against Niger's. So population pyramid is used to estimate also the dependency ratio. This is super important because if you're going to have a large group of old people, we have to figure out what to do with them. So we need to set up more assisted living and services like that to take care of our elders. So we are comparing working to non-working parts of the population. That's all it is. Very simple. So another vocabulary word in your dictionary is potential workforce. When you see that, that is just the working force. Those are people like me in their 40s, and that can range anywhere from 15 to 64. They're part of the workforce in an area. Versus the dependent population, they are under 15 or over 64. This can fluctuate a little bit, but that's pretty much the average of what you see. That's your dependent population. Okay, so you guys are like dependents on your parents until you reach like 17 or 18 years old. Okay, and then the reason that all this is so important is the potential workforce divided by the dependent workforce, again, gives geographers an idea of how places need to plan for the elderly. This is a last slide. This is a dependency ratio in Naples, Florida. And you can see, whoa, look at that, how top heavy it is. There are a lot of old folks living there. And so what does Naples, Florida need to do to prepare for such a huge part of their population being old? So again, what are they? Are they snowbirding in, or are they families that are retiring there or just coming to visit? So all these play into how you plan. Population pyramids are fascinating. We're going to read some more of them next week when you come back. Okay, I think that's it, guys. Thanks. We'll see you next time.